What is up, everybody? Greetings! Another couple of streams for me today. Can't do these live to Twitch because for some reason, if I'm streaming in OBS, anything that's live, any actual motion out of me, and my frames per second and my bitrate drops, just tanks through the floor, so I'm going to look like stop motion. And I don't want to do that to you. So I'd rather record it now and post it up on Twitch and YouTube and talk to you while I'm watching it along than another way. So I sincerely apologize that you're not going to hear me, that you're not going to be able to ask me questions and have me verbally respond to you, but I will be here. I'm going to be doing this one, and yeah, if you're watching on Twitch, next up, shortly after this one, I'm going to be doing a unboxing of the next to the last ever Smuggler's Bounty as directly distributed by Funko. Let's see what happens beyond that. But we're going to go from there. So, what are we doing today? Well, today we are customizing an arcade stick. I've been planning this for a while. What I have is a Mayflash F300 arcade fight stick. This is an arcade stick, as you may say. It's basically so you can play your fighting games like you were staying in an arcade. Nice controls, all that. Just like what you're kind of expecting. And that is what I've got right here. Flash fight stick. I've opened this up. I literally just finished updating. I got a friend who came by to help me upgrade to firmware. In here. So, what you have in the box is a USB cable, the fight stick itself with some nice padding to it, and here is fight stick itself, blue ball top stick, blue. I have no idea who made these buttons. So, that's fine. But one of the selling points of this particular arcade stick is that it is 100% compatible with Sanwa Denshi parts. If you don't know, if you're not like an arcade person, Sanwa is one of the top manufacturers of arcade parts in Japan. And so what I have is I have a Sanwa arcade stick, JLF. This one has a black ball top inside the box. I have a batch of buttons because I want to change it on here. This comes with a square restrictor gate, which is what dictates where things are going to be. Like when you move the stick up, you're going up against flat of a square. When you go into the corner, you're in the corner of a square. Along the flat, into a corner, along the flat, into the corner. I'm going to be trying out and changing that over to an octagonal restrictor gate on there. And like I said, I got buttons. So I've got buttons for all the replaceable buttons on here. And of course, drop my restrictor gate. These 8 buttons, this start button, and then I've got, of course, the replacement stick. Because this is me and what I care about, I'm doing this the way I want it. So I'm basing it this bad boy. Good old traditional DualShock 4. So I have for X, circles, cross, circle, square, and triangle, I have the corresponding colors of the buttons from my Sigma buttons. So we're going to get down to it. First thing is first. Big shock there. You gotta flip it over, and there are 6 Phillips head screws. 1 in each of these 4 added sections, and then 1 of the center of each of the rows. I have done this before, because I did get this a little while ago. I had been waiting on a component that just arrived today. So now I can actually patience. As you can see, I'm not. I prepared this earlier. So that's, you all know me. That's not my way. Closest I did preparing this earlier was cutting a couple of zip ties on the inside of this bad boy. And of course, I did a test match because I wanted to make sure it was going to function. I also tested this out, not in the match capacity, but after I updated the firmware, I did make sure that it still worked. Cool. One of the advantages of this Mayflash, and the reason why I selected it for this, one is of course the fact that it is advertised as being 100% compatible with the Senwa Denshi parts. But the bigger reason was that because I could have worked around other things, it just made it easy. But this is compatible with PC, Xbox 360, Xbox One, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Android, and Switch. That's what the latest firmware that I just did on here did, is it made it compatible with Nintendo Switch. Now you may be going, well, why would you need an arcade stick for the Switch? Some people really want to play a really good Pokken tournament. So we'll go with that. So, I've taken the 6 screws out and put them over the side. And we drop out the bottom plate. Now, the bottom plate, this plate here, is where most of the weight of this is. Just going to be realistic with you here. Most of the weight of this stick is in this base plate here. It is very heavy, but it could, in some ways, do a little more. Okay, so here's the kind of the jumbled mess of the inside. You have the wires that go over to the buttons, and then a series of wires that go over to the existing arcade stick. The existing stick that's in here, which is really squishy today. A lot of travel, a lot more than I really wanted to deal with. So that's why I didn't continue using it until I knew I was going to be able to get it. So, get our unboxing tool, which one of the great things about this is it's got a slotted screwdriver on. And you need that because to disconnect the ball top on these, you need a slotted screwdriver to hold the stick from just spinning in place as you remove the ball top. Particularly on this one because it uses a guard on the stick. Dust washer. Here's the blue ball top, which I will be putting. A protective sleeve, like a dust sleeve. And then you have the actual stick portion itself. Now I'm going to take the good old trusty screwdriver. I'm going to remove the 4 screws that hold the soon-to-be old stick. In a slightly spot. Replacing this first because this is the hardest part. I'm trying to show you. Give myself a little bit less headspace. Better. So we undo these screws. That hold this in place. And there are 4 screws that go into one in each corner of those. Now, the stick that they used in here as a default uses 4 2-pin connections for a total of 8 pins to connect it to the board inside here. Whereas the Sanwa uses a 5-pin connection, so it uses a common one of the. In this one, each switch gets its own ground. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to disconnect these. I have a nice set of tweezers that I use for this, just because it makes life simple. I also use these for making miniatures and keeping track of wires, but they for other controller functions. But they work nice for this because you can get into small spaces. Sorry that I don't have an overhead view of this. I don't have 2 cameras, so you're dealing with seeing me through the camera on my laptop. Now, if any of you who may be watching this on Twitch or YouTube, as I'm going to be using this on both, if you have any ideas for artwork for me to use on the top, or a way for me to get artwork printed on vinyl, because there's no on-top plate for this. So as you can see, this has the 4 connections and a big bunch of wires. We're going to stick that over the side. So, in place of that, we have, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it, I know you can't. There is a 5-pin connector on the board here that is right next to connections that I just undid. And I got, and this is the part that I was waiting on, this is a 5-pin female to female connector. It's the same connection that Sanwa uses on the actual joystick, and they put one also onto the board here. So I'm just going to plug this in, plug one end in here. Gotta love that this was the first thing for this build that I ordered. That's plugged in there. And the last to arrive. Ordered from China, because that was the most reasonably priced way for me to get it. So in here we have the actual joystick from Sanwa. This was ordered. I got this from Focus Attack. Well, this stick I got from Amazon. I'm probably getting in your ball top from Focus Attack. I also so I got the stick and the ball from there. It would have been cheaper for me to get Focus Attack, but they were sold out of this. But Focus Attack is where I got all of the buttons from. We're going to be seeing it. So got our ball top. This one's a black ball top as opposed to the blue. There. There. And as I was saying about the 5-pin connection, the Sanwa stick comes with a female pinned connection there that goes to just straight wires at the bottom. Because of the way this is set up, I'm not going to be doing any soldering, so I don't need that. That's not something that I told of. So this one has its own dust basket. So step 1 is going to be plugging in. That I connect to the right direction. We're plugging the wires just directly onto the connection provided by Sanwa. And then we just rest the stick, the new stick, along onto the holes that were already here and screw it into place. Now, you'll notice that that means that we have a lot less random wires floating around in here. And that makes things look a lot nicer. At least I think it looks nicer. It's all a matter of personal opinion. This is probably going to be one of the last times that I crack this open. You crack it open to change out buttons. And sure that. I don't have to worry about redoing any of the wiring. The Sanwa, all the Sanwa sticks use the same 5-pin connection that I've already got this hooked up to. And this is a much less squishy stick. Now I am about to get this fully screwed in here, but wait, Patrick, you say, what happened to swapping out the restrictor gauge? Well, that is actually a super simple process. I'll show you that. So here is the restrictor gate on the Senwa. See, it's the square restrictor gate. There are 4 little tabs on each side, and all you have to do to change out the restrictor gate is pop the existing restrictor gate off of the tabs, take your new restrictor gate, line it up with the tabs, and push it down on there. And now it's got an octagonal restrictor gate. And I can take and swap out this restrictor gate back to the square. Which I may at various points at that side. And then I'm going to take the new dust washer, put that over there, and take our nice black ball top. Screwdriver. Snap on there. So now, much less squishy, much more clicky. I like the click. There are plenty of people who don't. But now to what's going to be the long part. We have 9 buttons we're swapping out on here. We have the Start Options menu button here at the top, and then all of these 8 buttons here. Because I am basing this off of the PlayStation controller, the button colors there, I got for triangle, nice vibrant green Sanwa. For circle, it's Viridian or Vermilion. For square, right one. And then for X, it's blue. I got as close as I could personally to the colors on the controller. Then for the center top one, I'm just replacing a black one for just a black one, just a Sanwa black button, which is a smaller diameter than the larger ones for the actual buttons. So a little more. So I had to make sure to get that. And the rest of the ones for the L2, L1, R2, R1 buttons. I went with a smoke clear, so if I decide to, I can put artwork underneath. So it's something that it's got a nice gray to it. I got 4 of those. Again, those were all from Focus Attack. They are still Sanwa buttons made by Sanwa. Just Focus Attack was quickest and most reasonably priced as far as I was concerned. I didn't do a lot of searching, but I did enough searching that was one. So on here, we're going to start with the actual And you can see there's kind of a bird's nest of wires in here. So to pop one of these out, we're going to start with the L1/LB, since, again, this can be used for PlayStation and Microsoft consoles. Just squeeze. There's old tabs on the inside. I launch one at you. You can see right here. Tabs on the side. You can squeeze in there, just like plastic tabs. Squeeze them and you can just push it out from there. And that connects to two wires, in this case the green wire, and there are two wires connected to each one. And they're done with a clip that's made to done easily. See, the blue button is popped right off. Take our new button, plug the wires into it, and just slide it back in. And now instead of blue, we've got that nice gray. That royal blue. You can already see that it's beginning to look a lot less like your default controller and more like mine. And you can do this with your own if you want to do one. As you can see, it goes pretty quick. Go camera down. Hopefully you can see it. Pop it through, plug the wires in, and pop the button back in place. And the button doesn't spin, it doesn't rotate, it just stays right in place. Once it clicks in through, it stays there fairly decently so far. We're just going to continue through each one of these. Not going to speed this up, you get to see it in actual speed. And it really doesn't matter which side, because it's basically what's happening with the switches, with the buttons here, as the switches that they are completing a connection. So it's not a matter of, oh, which one does it have to be? You're basically completing that circuit. One line, it's one line that when you press it, it completes it. I think it's what it completes it as. It either completes it or breaks it. But either way, it's the same. Both wires would fulfill the same function. And as you can see, these are popping out nice, quick, and easy. Simply reattached. Now, the reviews on this stick on Amazon are fairly high. I think it's got a 4.5 when last I looked. And the thing is that they say it's fine as a beginner stick, but it's really best if you're planning on modifying. The best purpose is if you're planning on modifying. Now is when it's going to start looking really different. Now we're going on to, this one's going to be the triangle, the green one. Disconnect wires here. And we go from having the 4 grays and the 4 blues. It's a nice vibrant green there. Nice PlayStation button green. Now, the one problem that you run into, because I say this, and I've got fairly small fingers, is that as you're doing this, there are some structural elements inside the actual controller that these get pretty close to, and so your fingers are going to be kind of tight in there for the tabs that you need to squeeze. So just be aware of that. You may want to adjust the angle of things for easier adjustment in the future. Since this one has a visual pop to it, we'll do our start option button. Because this one's literally just going from a black one to a near identical black one. And this one fulfills the same purpose as the start options and menu button on the various controls. And now we're on to our last two buttons, and we're really getting near the end of things. As I said, this isn't a terribly long build. This is something that just a couple hours. The longest part of this is getting. The longest part of this was it took a little over, probably about 3 weeks to get the wires that I need from China. You can get them on Amazon Prime and Amazon with Prime, and you can get them quicker. But caveat to that, those ones will cost you about $10 for 5, which is how many I got. 5 of those 5 big ones. Sanwa stick to the board. This set of 5 cost me $1.50. So the wait time I felt was worth it for the savings that I was going to get. If you're building an arcade stick and you're going with something like this Mayflash, just getting everything nice and fully seated in here, and it's all done. Back to the way it was, but from the top, more colorful, more different. So now all that's left is to seal things up. Now, one thing that you do need to make sure of is this bottom plate is actually, even though it doesn't look that way, is actually directional. There is a top and bottom to it. I didn't realize that the first time I took it off. There is less space on the top side than there is from the bottom side. So just something for you to keep in mind if you do this yourself. Now also, if you do want to, you can order that 5-pin female-to-female wire from Fightstick. I had already ordered my wires from China when I ordered my buttons, so I didn't even pay attention to that. I had done some research on this because I was looking for a reasonably priced alternative, because I've always wanted to have a nice modified arcade stick, and I could never justify it because they're super expensive. This one, fully modified, fully decked out, at the point in time where I'm at, was about $130. And that's for a brand new Sanwa stick, full complement of 9 Sanwa buttons, wiring to connect everything, and the base arcade stick itself. There may be more in the long run when I add artwork to it. I have to look into that and see what I'm interested in as far as that. But you can end up with one that you've done no modifications to that doesn't work with as many consoles as this does. Yes, it may be a wireless one, as some are, but whereas this one is wired. This one works with everything. The reason why is it uses a USB connection that you run a wired controller, and yes, you just use a normal connection to your board, so that it bypasses the lockout, so that this basically gets in the way of the connections. So as the controller is going through, this can mimic the buttons being pressed on the controller, and the stick being moved on the controller. But there we go. That is a fully modified. Yes, I may add some artwork in the future, but as far as buttons and the stick itself, this is a fully modified Mayflash with Sanwa. If you have any questions about this, social media stuff is down below. Please feel free to stop by my Twitch channel and ask me. I am more than happy to answer questions on there about any of the hardware, any of the stuff that I do. So please feel free to stop by. I would love to see you there. I tend to not lounge in the YouTube comments because not a lot of people comment on my YouTube videos, if anybody watches them at all. And I've been to way too many YouTube comments that turn into trash fires, and I don't need that in my life. So if you have a comment constructively, please, my information is below. You can hit me up on Twitch. Feel free to follow me on PSN. I got my Xbox Live down there, but I'm really not on. But Twitch and YouTube, Twitch is probably the best way to get hold of me, Twitch or Twitter. So take care. Have a great day. Hope to see you.